Right, so here we go once again. It's the end of November. I can't believe how fast the year goes, mate. Christmas is coming, isn't it? The
I
holiday
know.
series.
I know it's unbelievable.
The Steam holiday sale is afoot,
Yep.
so
Terrifying.
everyone will be stocking up. And we are here ready to talk about Alpha 27.
Alpha 27.
27.
Yeah. So let's talk about food.
Food.
Now, as you know, in the last alpha, we tried to solve the food crisis
Yes.
within Prison Architect.
Yes.
The food crisis is the problem that our food code is not very robust, and often food ends up in the wrong canteen, and the chefs don't really have a deeper understanding of who is going to be eating when. They just kind of try and cook, and sometimes they massively overcook, but then move all the food to the wrong place. This is particularly apparent in prisons that have multiple kitchens and canteens.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not necessarily something that affects new players, but certainly any player that's serious about Prison Architect runs into this problem eventually.
Yeah.
That it simply doesn't work.
I mean, they talk about all the bureaucracy in the army, don't they? And it's like you start trying to create a simulation and you realise why.
Yeah.
You realise why if you're trying to feed 1,000 men, they can't all just rock up at the mess tent at the same time.
It's a very hard problem to solve.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a good example prison. Here you've got a kitchen and canteen here.
Yeah.
Right? And in fact, you can see there, that's kind of like the max security zone.
Who made this prison?
I'll put his name up on screen.
Yeah, we need to name check these guys.
I always do. I always
use
put their
it.
names up on screen.
Yeah, good, good.
You've got another kitchen and canteen down here. Right?
Yeah.
And you've got another kitchen and canteen. Here you've got a kitchen and two canteens.
Right.
Right. And so you've got, all kinds of interesting arrangements going on here.
So is this what you call the pathological case?
This is one of the hardest cases of all. So myself and Johnny spent this month solving it properly.
Right.
We've done away with the kind of... Last month we put a hack in whereby food could teleport.
Yeah.
So if food was in the wrong place, it would teleport.
You didn't describe that as a hack at the time.
No, I didn't, because I hadn't realised it was. Because
you basically, you came out telling me how great you were and how smart you were.
How smart we were for avoiding the problem. Well, what happened was about a day later, people figured out that all they have to do is build a kitchen, way over here somewhere, with a tiny little canteen in the safe zone, and then put canteens in the rest of their prison, and make use of this the new quantum tunneling facility that we had added to the game.
Dear, oh dear. Okay.
Pretty good thinking, eh?
So now we've fixed it.
Right. So we've got a new model, right? And I'm going to show it to you visually because you can look at it.
Until next month.
Here's deployment.
Yeah.
Right? And here's a new button, logistics.
Okay.
And in the logistics screen, we can see a rendering of the calculated supply and demand on every kitchen and canteen.
Okay.
So what does this mean? It means the prisoners in this cell block are eating in this canteen.
Okay.
Prisoners in this cell block are eating in this canteen. And this kitchen is supplying that canteen.
Serving this canteen, yes.
And so you can see, and there is a calculation of the supply and demand on that kitchen and that canteen.
Okay.
So it knows, if you highlight it, it tells you more. It's looked at the timeline, it's looked at your schedule.
Yeah.
And it's realised that at 7 a.m, 48 prisoners are eating, at 1 p.m, 48 prisoners are eating, and at 6 p.m, 27 prisoners are eating.
Nice.
So it can calculate correctly at any time what the demand is going to be over the next few hours, and then cook appropriately. Now, the brilliant thing about this is that this is automatically calculated.
Right.
Now, if I adjust things, let's say, I adjust this zone here to be maximum security only. Right?
Yeah.
It automatically changes where they eat. No, it doesn't. It does if I adjust this canteen so this is for supermax only. Right?
Yeah.
And I'll adjust this canteen so that it is medium security only. Right? Let's go back to logistics.
Yeah.
What happens? It changes.
Yes.
It remaps them into their new...
So does it sort of give you an alarm if there's not enough capacity?
No, it doesn't give you an alarm, but you can eyeball it because you can tell. So for example, at the moment, minimum security are eating right now.
Yeah.
And it tells you there's their demand, and and the supply is in green, and the yellow represents food being cooked.
Yeah.
So that's food that's actually in the kitchen being prepared for them. So you can tell just by eyeballing it, there isn't enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So you know. Now this screen is not designed. In many ways, we haven't solved the food problem in general, because if you don't have enough chefs or you don't have big enough kitchens, your prisoners will still go hungry.
Right, right.
But we have at least made it possible for you to tell when that's happening.
Yeah, okay. You can diagnose the problem, as
Yeah.
it were.
But more to the point, the production of food and the distribution of food to canteens is much more intelligent now.
Right, right.
They'll only ever produce how much is needed at most,
Right.
and they'll always put it in the right canteen, and it
Okay.
recalculates as required.
That's really good.
Really cool, right?
That's
Proper
really cool.
solution. Now, there's something else, which is that I've had a slight change of heart on one of my principles for the game. I always
Right.
decided that this would be as far as the player would go in terms of manually controlling things. I don't want players to be saying, "You prisoner eat in this canteen, you prisoner eat in that canteen."
Yeah, it's a bit too much down in the weeds, isn't it?
Exactly, and I don't want it to be saying this kitchen will produce 200 meals and this kitchen will produce 400 meals, right? But I have come back slightly. I do think that this AI routine, this is a bit of Johnnyware, right? This is a bit of magic.
Yeah, yeah.
That has a constraint space to worry about. It has
Right.
every prisoner to make sure that they're fed. Everyone has to eat somewhere, and it tries to balance it so that every kitchen is providing for at least one canteen.
Yeah.
But it is an algorithm, and it is open to interpretation. And maybe we don't get it right in every case,
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't your intention.
Yeah.
So, if your intention is different, you can manually override the screen.
See, I think this is such the right way to deal with difficult AI problems. You know, you get the AI to guess.
Yeah.
To basically say, this is what I reckon you want to do.
Yeah.
And then you allow the human to
You allow the human
override
to
it.
apply. The human might know things
That's
about
right.
his prison that the AI is not correctly interpreted.
And you've just got to make sure that the AI does,
Yeah.
allow you to make those changes.
Right, so what you can do then, these guys down here, for example, these normal security dudes, absolutely no reason why they can't eat in this canteen. If
Yeah.
I open it up, I have to open it up. Let's make that a shared corridor. There we go. So if I go to logistics, I can click on these guys and I can say, no, you will actually eat over here.
Yeah.
Right? And you can see it goes solid, the line.
Yeah.
The solid line indicates the player has specified that's how it's going
Right.
to be. Now that
Right.
won't get overridden, right? So in many ways, on the player's head be it.
Yes.
If the player does
absolutely.
this and it doesn't make any sense, like this is a maximum security canteen, for example,
Yeah.
it won't unmap those links. Right? But
That's okay.
those guys won't eat there.
Yeah. The
They'll
AI
eat-
just has to say
They'll eat up here. But the supply
That
and demand
procedure-
calculation will be wrong.
is not recommended. That's what happens.
Yeah, so if you're gonna override it, you've got to make sure that you do it properly. But you can override it to your heart's content, and it's like the final fallback if we don't get it right.
Because you can separate the saucer section from the warp drive at warp speed.
Yeah,
You can.
it just isn't.
But the
recommended.
computer will tell you
Yeah.
that the procedure's not recommended.
Yeah, not recommended at any speed, sir. You can always clear them by right-clicking, and
Yeah.
it goes back to its best guess.
Yeah.
You can do the same with kitchens as well. So a perfectly viable strategy is to cross-link your kitchens.
Yeah.
So this
okay.
kitchen, for example, maybe this kitchen produces too much food. Like
Yeah,
it always
yeah.
has too much. So you can say, well, actually, you can go here, and here, and here, and here.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So I've basically told it that kitchen's going to cook for all of them.
Yeah.
And so then that resulted in some remapping of this kitchen. Right? So this kitchen was doing both,
Yeah.
right? But now it just does the nearest one. So I can say, well,
Yeah.
actually, no, I want you to do both.
Yeah. Okay.
I can override this as much as I like.
Yes, but the AI did kind of respond to that.
Yeah, the AI
So
will do
what-
its best to work around what you've told it, but the AI
What would
will
happen?
never override what you set.
If one of those canteens stopped functioning as a canteen because a riot or something, no longer met the requirements.
Well, during a riot, things are different because most stuff like that stops anyway.
But if that canteen was no longer a canteen for whatever reason,
if you de-zoned it or something like that,
Yeah,
well then
yeah.
it would get unmapped. It would no
Would-
longer
would-
it would no longer have a supply and demand calculation.
and would the player mappings also just disappear?
No, the player mappings will never disappear unless you delete
Right.
the whole building.
Yeah.
You demolish the whole building, it will disappear then. But it doesn't mean the AI will follow it. Right? The AI will try and follow what the player has set, but if they can't, they won't.
Right.
Right.
So look, turn this canteen, right?
Yeah,
The one in the top right of the screen.
yeah, up here.
Right. Stop that being a canteen.
Okay, yeah,
I want to see what happens.
interesting. Yeah, no pressure now. Right, so there we go. I've unset that.
Right,
As
and
a
now go
canteen.
back in. Can we go back into your logistics screen?
Yeah, and what's happening? Right, so the manual links still remain. Right.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
there's no demand from that zone, so the kitchen won't cook anything for there. The prisoners
Yeah.
are all leaving because
Yeah.
it's not a canteen anymore.
And the AI has remapped it.
And so the AI won't map anything to that room anymore. So if I clear my overrides, nobody's going to bother sending anything.
Where do those prisoners live? The ones that are leaving that canteen now.
Well, those guys are the max security guys, so they live over here.
So they've been remapped down to that canteen.
Yes. So so those guys are remapped into this canteen now. So every cell block is always mapped somewhere. If you don't map somewhere manually, the system will map it for you because every prisoner has to eat.
And if you take one out, it'll just remap them.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've got you.
Yeah. So you can go all the way from ignoring this completely to setting your entire prison manually, if that's what you want. And there are other examples of significantly more complex setups even than that. I mean, I asked people to send me via Twitter a load of complex setups.
Wow.
Right, so check this one out.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is a 17 hours construction.
Yeah.
So here's his prison layout. You can see he's categorized it into different security levels.
Yeah.
Right? And his intention is fairly clear. He has a kitchen and canteen at the center of each group.
Yeah.
But this is just the sort of thing the old model would have gotten all wrong. The kitchen would have cooked and sent its food to all the wrong places.
Yeah.
So now that's the mapping that Johnny's system put together. Right? And you can see it's pretty damn good, actually.
That's cool, isn't it? It's cool.
Yeah. Gets everyone right. So each one of these works independently, and there's even this special case here of a little holding cell for your vulnerable prisoners.
Okay.
In yellow, so they live in a holding cell and they have their own dedicated kitchen and small canteen.
That's mental. Welcome to the prison. Here's your holding cell. Dinner will be served in 5 minutes.
Bad luck for being a snitch.
Well, good luck.
Well, yeah, they get to live in their own little zone, don't they?
Snitches need... I can't even say it. Snitches need stitches.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we've gotten rid of that teleporting upgrade that we put in last month. That no longer happens. And now it works it out properly. There you go.
Yeah, good, lovely. And also, just for those that could hear, that was one of Chris's boys crying in the background.
Yeah, that was little Elliot.
Because I think we added that in as a bit of a soundscape because we were talking about food and he was hungry.
Yeah.
You see, that was why that was well thought through.
Yeah. I've put other changes in relating to food. The behaviour of prisoners during meal times is different now. Previously, prisoners would only really eat if they had a high food need.
Right.
Which made sense, sort of. But
yeah.
If they were only a little bit hungry, they wouldn't bother eating.
It's not very realistic, is it?
Yeah, and at the end of lunchtime, when they were starting to get hungry, they would leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's stupid. Everyone would eat at lunchtime. Everyone would take a tray of food, even if they weren't hungry.
Otherwise, you wouldn't get fat prisoners. And I know how much you enjoy having a fat me.
Oh, yeah, well.
Fat Morris.
We have to keep things realistic.
Is that you in there? You right in the middle of the screen? Oh, no, it's not you.
No. So you can see the behaviour's different now. Every prisoner is taking a tray of food, right? Even if they're not especially hungry. I mean, they are hungry. Yeah. But even if they're not, they'll take a tray of food and they'll eat some of it. And sometimes you'll see them actually leave some behind. So, where can I see that?
I just love looking at this game, man. This looks brilliant.
It looks cool, doesn't it? Yeah.
Ryan's artwork.
It looks better
now
that they're all eating.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than just standing around. So you can see here there's some trays with some bacon left. So you're starting to get the feeling this prison's set up to cook 3 pieces of food for every prisoner, which might be too much. You know, maybe they've got too much food being served.
So that stuff there, that's wastage.
It's wastage, yeah. It's food that's been taken but has been lost.
Right.
And in the logistics screen, helpfully, I render every prisoner who hasn't eaten yet. Right. So all these guys that you can see, they're the guys that haven't eaten because they're waiting for the food to be delivered. See how it's still coming in? Right. Let's move on to something else. Continuing the theme of stepping back slightly from the idea of us doing everything using AI and allowing the player to override things when our AI isn't quite right, we've also taken a look at the reform programs. Okay? You still there, mate?
Yeah, I'm still here. I was just yawning.
So here's our reform program list for this prison. Lots of reform programs running. One of the consistent complaints is that you can't tell where any of these programs are running and you can't override it at all. So I've made a quick change that you can now highlight a program and it will tell you where it's running.
Well, the room in which it's running.
The room in which it's running. So that general education is running in that classroom.
Right.
That one's running in that classroom. That one's running in that one, and that one's running in that one. So you've got 4 general education classes running simultaneously.
Lovely.
4 p.m. till 7, which is a reasonable estimate.
Yeah.
Right? But it might not be what you want. In many cases, prisons have got 2 classrooms, for example, and one of them might be MinSec and one in MaxSec.
Right.
But you don't get any choice over which one gets your classroom.
That's going to be a problem, isn't it?
Yeah. And people have said, I don't want classrooms for my Max security guys, but the automatic scheduler just does it for me.
Right.
But continuing the same theme, I don't want players to have to manually set the times for all these programs.
Okay.
Or anything like that. But if they want to, who are we to say they shouldn't override them?
Absolutely. Who are we?
So let's click on this new button. This is a Gary Chambers initiative. This is Gary's job for the month. The new scheduler tool.
Ah, look at this.
Check out this shizzle. Right?
This is what video games are about, man. It's not about graphics and story.
Yeah.
It's about schedulers.
It's about schedulers. So this is a representation, a visualization of the schedule that was automatically generated.
Nice.
And it's quite nice to see it like this, actually. And it gives you an impression straight away of how actually it's quite arbitrary.
Yeah.
Right? The schedule that we've come up with is just one of many possible schedulings that could have come up. And maybe this isn't what the player wants. So we can click on a program, move it around. Right?
Hey,
don't want it there, I want it there. I don't want this one there, I want it there. You can even set things like this.
Yeah.
Right, now you see things are changing now. So these have got little blue pins in them, which means that they're pinned in place. So even if I run the scheduler again, if I automatically reschedule all programs, those programs won't get rescheduled because I've pinned them in place.
They become the constraints.
Yeah, exactly. Everything else will move around them.
Mm-hmm.
Now this one, Alcoholics Group, has got a warning on it saying program is outside valid work regime.
Right.
What on earth does that mean? Well, if you look in the regime, you can see that work time is scheduled from 9 till 11.
Right.
And 4 till 6. That's when they're allowed to go to these programs.
Yeah.
And that's represented here by the green fill.
I see.
So the green fill is when prisoners can actually get to these programs.
Yeah.
So it's telling us that you can put an Alcoholics Group here, but they won't be able to go to the second half.
Right.
Pretty cool shit, right?
That's very cool, man. So they're just going to... What are they going to do then? They're going to do half the course?
They'll do half the course and they'll have to go back to their rooms.
And will they fail? What at the end? Will they pass? Will they fail?
Well, it'll roughly half their chances of being successful.
Okay.
They'll
So
have one half attendance.
And I could really see in most prisons, certainly, most societies, certainly prisons in the UK, there's never enough money for anything. Yeah. Right? So I could completely imagine there being, right, we're going to run 2 courses and we're only going to let you have 3 hours.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so you're just going to have to, that's it, tough.
Yeah.
And obviously, and the other thing I love about bureaucracies is rather than having both classes reduced a little bit, you'll cut half off the M1.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just inevitable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So this is pretty cool stuff. And this is a nice new interface, I think. So whenever you click reschedule, you can see it move things around.
Yeah, it is nice.
You can decide what you want to change. So it's just put one kitchen program. So it tells you up here which security group each room is in. There's a shared kitchen and protective custody kitchen. And actually, if you move the interface down, it actually does give you a little peek at where that actually is.
Yeah.
So if you highlight it, it tells you which one it is.
Brilliant. That's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. So you can unpin stuff if you decide actually just reschedule it. Whatever you like, you can unpin it or you can repin it. And you can even schedule new programs from here. So if you're so inclined, let's say maybe this is completely misinterpreted, and maybe actually you only want your, you don't want protective custody doing kitchen work.
Yeah.
Too many knives.
Yeah.
So you can move these things around like this, right? And you can even create new programs by clicking, and then fill up more space.
There we go. And it gives you the options, does it? Because you're in a kitchen, it only gives you one option.
It knows that there's only one program that can run, but for a workshop. There's a couple, right? Workshop safety.
Yeah, nice.
Carpentry apprenticeship. You can put them wherever you like. Classrooms, I think, have the most options, don't they?
Yeah.
So classrooms can do foundation or general or guard taser certification.
Yeah.
So guard taser certification is normally something that you run outside of work time.
Yeah.
So it doesn't conflict. Like that.
Keep freeing up your classrooms and things.
Yeah, lots of new options there. And again, not something the player doesn't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to mess with it. But in a prison like this one, where you've got a lot of possible rooms and a lot of possible time schedules, there's no way that our automatic system can 100% get your attention.
That's right. It's going to do something that's reasonable and viable.
It's going to do something reasonable and viable.
That's very cool.
Try. But the player always knows best, I think. All right, that's the end of programming scheduling.
Cool.
So what else have I got to show you? I've got a nice little thing. Let's have a look at test map 3, maybe? Yeah. those are our two big main features for the month, following
Cool.
a consistent theme.
I think they're very good.
Yeah. Oh, this is a nice prison, this one.
Look at the size of this one.
Yeah, it's like a long, thin prison. It's really cool. It's really good. Really active as well. There's like loads of people crammed. Like the density of people is really high.
Yeah.
And yeah, we can take a look at the logistics calculation, which is quite complex for this one.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of interpretation there, and you could definitely see why you'd be like, no, actually, I meant it this way. No, I meant it this way. I've added a new object to the game, so you know that you can go to informants.
Yeah.
And your informants tell you, like, the reputation of your prisoners, don't they?
That's right.
Like, extremely
That's right.
strong, and it also tells you when there's contraband and stuff. Well, people don't always like informants. Because, morally speaking, you are putting the prisoner in quite a lot of danger by making him an informant.
Yep.
And they can be quite unreliable. I mean, for someone to be up for being an informant, they have to be in quite a bad way.
Yeah.
Like they're more likely to be an informant if they're addicted to drugs and stuff.
Yeah. So you're exploiting the weak.
You're exploiting people. Yeah, absolutely. So there's now a different way. I've extended what used to be CCTV and renamed it to surveillance.
Okay.
And now there's a new object called a phone tap.
Oh.
Okay. Now, a phone tap is one of these consoles that you build in your security room.
Look at that.
So I'll put a few of them down.
That's brilliant. That's straight out of.
I'll just cheat a bit.
What was it called? That movie?
The Lives of Others.
Yeah, The Lives of Others.
Yeah, great film, isn't it?
It is a great
set
movie.
in Germany, where they just have some member of the German secret police and they're listening in on all these people's
So
lives.
good. The final scene of that when the wall comes down.
Don't spoil it.
Well, that doesn't spoil it. It's just I don't think it spoils it when it comes down. He just leaves.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And it all meant nothing. It was all for nothing. Yeah. So this is a phone tap. Then obviously it's a guard manned object. So it's quite labour intensive. This.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to do this for everything, it's going to need a lot of guards.
Yeah.
You connect it to your phone booths like this.
Yeah.
Just like every other wired object.
How many phone booths can you connect to a tap?
There's no limit, as with all objects in this category. There isn't. Oh, look at the wiring diagram of this map.
Look at this.
There is no limit, but the more you connect it to, the less effective it will be.
Okay.
Because
you can only listen in on one call.
You can only listen in on one call at a time.
There we go.
Let's put some guards in. I'll just connect the other ones up as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. So you're gonna connect that station to all of them as well.
You could do that. Actually, that's a perfectly viable strategy. That wasn't what I was going to do, but there's no reason why not.
Right.
And I'll connect the third one over there, maybe over here. I just want to show you how it works, basically.
Yeah.
There we go. So if we look at show wires now, so you can kind of see because that only one of them's manned at the moment, so he's listening.
Yeah.
If we go to...
Oh, why doesn't he put the little headphones on?
He will put the headphones on.
Well done.
You see how it's sort of rotating through all the phones? Because none of them are in use at the moment.
Yeah.
Right? So it just cycles through all of your phones until a prisoner comes to use one of them.
Right.
And then at the point when a prisoner is using a phone, the cycling stops and their guard will be listening to that prisoner's conversation.
So we're just going to wait for a prisoner?
I'm not actually going to wait because that's going to be dull as dishwater. You're just going to have to take my word for it.
Oh, okay.
Right? That it will.
Yeah, okay.
And then that guard is then effectively tied up listening to that prisoner.
Yeah.
Right? Because he can't come off the call until it's over.
Yeah.
So the more guards you have doing it, the more coverage you're going to get. Right. So it's always going to be a trade-off.
And how do you receive the intelligence then?
Same place. Under your informant screen, it's not really informants. This is more like intelligence now.
Yeah. Okay.
But any prisoner, so it's specific to the prisoner using the phone. Right,
yeah.
Here we go. So this guy is now using the phone, and you'll see under utilities that's a red line. That's a permanent red line. Right, that one there.
Yeah.
Because it's in use, and so any reputation that he has will be revealed. That the fact that he's ex-law enforcement has been revealed by listening in on his phone call.
Yeah.
Any throw-in contraband that he's scheduled for him is revealed.
Right.
Like this pack of cigarettes.
Okay.
Going to be thrown over the outer walls. Right, but it's specific to him.
Okay.
Right? You don't get intelligence on everyone else in the prison. You get intelligence on that specific prisoner.
Okay.
So if you monitor your phone booths in maximum security, you'll get intelligence about your maximum security prisoners.
So in reality, we can't. Most countries, again, you're not allowed to just listen in on anyone's calls.
Yeah,
but
interesting.
You can get a warrant to listen in to a particular prisoner's calls. You know.
I'm sure you can listen in on prisoners' calls, can't you? Aren't prisoners' calls always monitored? Because that's what, in like Orange is the New Black, all of their calls are monitored and logged.
Yeah, okay, I don't know. Maybe you're right. I know all their letters are red.
Right.
I do know that. Yeah, I could be wrong
Yeah,
about that.
maybe it's different in different countries. But
Yeah,
certainly in Prison Architect, you've got no qualms about listening to everyone's call. And it's a good way to gain intelligence. I mean, you've got prisoners here who've got question marks next to them, which means they have a reputation.
yeah,
But you don't know what it is yet.
yeah,
And they could
yeah.
be violent murderers for all you know.
So we can just tap their phones.
So by
and
tapping their phones, you gradually get intelligence without having to risk
have a little
informants' lives.
have a little listen. Yeah, brilliant,
Great.
brilliant. That's very cool.
Right, I've got one last thing to look at.
Right.
Now, this is more your zone, actually.
Is this about the bios?
Yes.
Yes. So we've always had a bit of an issue with the bios, potentially regarding bios being highly offensive,
Yeah.
or rude, or sort of trolling, really. And
These are the name in the game bios.
these are the name in the game bios. You want to pull one up so that we can just sort of have a look at it. So every single bio that goes in the game gets reviewed by a human being, gets a person, and they decide whether the bio is acceptable within the game or unacceptable. So all the bios are in English. That's one of the constraints that we laid down. So if a bio isn't in English, it'll be rejected, or if a bio is spelt really badly, then we'll reject that, or if it's grossly offensive, we'll reject it. However, recently we became aware of the fact that this system hadn't been perfect, and there were a number of offensive bios in there, which subsequently we've removed. But there was another issue highlighted during the time, which is that we are a team of British developers who have a different sort of cultural reference to somebody in a particular state in America or
Definitely.
in Norway or whatever.
Well, what you find offensive is completely
that's
in
right.
the eye of the beholder, isn't it?
That is the case. And so we could have an incredibly offensive bio that referred to some terrible real world case that we'd never heard of in
I see. So you're saying that we let bios through, we approved them without realising they were a reference to something horrible that had happened in another country.
Actually, it happened, exactly. There might be a
and
real
there's loads
point.
of them, isn't there? There's absolutely tons. There's actually 10,990 bios.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So previously, people have we've had complaints about highly offensive bios, and we've removed them. Unfortunately, it does take us a month because of the update cycle, but I think that's okay. But in order to sort of make things a little bit more community driven, I asked Johnny to put in some sort of black flagging system. Now, have you seen how he's actually done this?
Yeah. So what you do is you go to extras, you go to the names in the games list.
Yeah.
You search for the bio in question, or you can review all of them if you want to.
Yeah. Why don't you bring up mine?
Yeah, there's yours.
Let's black flag
More
mine.
stuff again. Great bio, mate.
Yeah, it's because I need to remember to do it before we ship. It's just because of all the testing.
Well, now there's a button down here that says report this bio as objectionable or offensive.
Okay.
And you click on that bad boy, and there you go. It's reported. Right.
That's done.
Yeah, that's it.
So nothing changes.
What actually happens when
no feedback?
So what actually goes on behind the scenes when that's clicked on?
An email is sent. It goes through to our customer support system. It goes through to a different member of the team than the one that does all of the initial reviewing, and it actually goes through to Sam.
Right.
And she has a look, and she says, "Yes, I can understand that this is offensive," and she blocks it. Or she might just say, "No, I'm not sure about this. We're going to leave it in for now."
Yeah.
But if we get a large number, and we're
counting them as well, aren't we? We're counting.
That's right.
We're counting the number of times this is being clicked on by people. So if you get the bio that's being clicked on by 100 people, as offensive, then we'll probably just take their word for it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just kill it. But obviously, we need to be careful because, like all things, this could be abused as well.
Yeah.
And we could get people, just hammering.
It's an imperfect system, isn't it? But having humans in the loop, but also having an automated way to catalogue the number of times something's been found offensive is a good approach, I think.
That's right.
And the number of people is too big for our company to actually review it. I mean, I've seen people saying, how could this happen? How could they let them through? But this.
Well, we do. I mean, the thing
is, it's vast.
But we have reviewed every single one of them. Now how the really offensive ones got through, I don't know. I think it's just a misclick, or a bug in the system. But we do actually, because it's important to me. We're dealing with a very emotive subject,
Definitely.
prisons, and I think we've always worked very hard to be sensitive in the way that we deal with it,
Yeah.
and I think being sensitive with the ways that we handle the bios are very important as well.
Yeah.
I've got
Great.
another question for you because when I was looking at this before, why do the pictures of the prisoners
Oh,
appear sort of weirdly
yes, it's
floating?
because
This is a developer
it's
build.
because it's a developer build, and this is how we confirm that the Polaroid, as drawn by Ryan, is the same
Okay.
as their in-game sprite.
Okay.
So you can see that that's the in-game sprite of Alistair, for example,
Yeah.
and that's actually the hand-drawn.
So go back
Ryan
to me
Sumo.
then.
Yeah, well, yours is different
What? Yeah. What's going on with me?
because
What
Ryan
what is
Sumo
that?
has a sense of humor, and he keeps editing your picture to add stupid things in. Don't you remember, like a couple of months ago, you were actually dressed as Fred Flintstone?
No,
And
I've
before
never
that,
seen-
you were dressed as Batman, and I was Robin.
I remember being dressed as Batman.
Yeah, so your Polaroid remains fixed, but your game
Yeah.
sprites often change
So he's just popped some
at the
weird-
whim of Ryan Sumo, our wayward artist.
That's right. It's the ghost in the machine.
Yeah, I think he just gets bored and decides to
He just draws crazy pictures
just
of you.
draw
and me.
crazy pictures of you and me. Yeah,
Oh,
basically.
right, brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's it. That's everything.
Yeah, cool. Well, obviously another big month.
Yeah.
A lot of work done. Hope you're all enjoying the continued updates. I think there's been a lot of discussion recently about the quality of games in early access, and
There has.
we tend to be held up as the right way to do it. So I'm really pleased that we seem to be nailing it for everybody. If you don't already own Prison Architect, you can get it from Steam, or you can head over to prison-architect.com and pick it up directly from us. It's on sale on Steam at the moment, so now's a very good time to go and buy it if you're interested. We are going to go away and start working on Alpha 28, which I guess might be a little bit smaller because Christmas is in the way. Anyway, to all of our American friends, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll be back in a few weeks.